What is up, people of the internet? This is Luke Catwalker coming to you with a new video, and I haven't done a solo video in a while because it's normally done with Brownstone and I. However, since this is part of the Support Mulan series and I am the main host, I'll be tackling this one solo. So, in this video, I'm going to be explaining why Mulan is better in the 2020 movie rather than the original. Now, I know this is a hot take, and many people are going to hate me over this, but hear me out. So I know many people love Mulan in the original, and so do I. I mean, she's like an insanely kind person. Goes to war to protect her father and stuff, and she learns combat and stuff like an ordinary person, and that's the main problem. Not the fact that she's like a nice person and stuff, because you need a nice person to tell your story. However, the fact that she has to learn combat from scratch. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. It's just in the original Ballad of Mulan, Mulan was already skilled as a warrior. Or how you may ask? Well, if you guys ever read the original Ballad before, or Mulan's father trained her in martial arts from an early age, so she knew some combat skills. This makes her more of a compelling warrior and stuff. Not, I wouldn't say like maybe a compelling character, because people tend to latch on to the fish out of water stereotype and stuff. But this argument makes her a more compelling warrior, and makes it more believable that she's able to take on all the ruined warriors. So yeah, the Mulan 2020 movie does this, and people argue that she's a Mary Sue, but I'd argue that she isn't, because, well, being skilled at combat because her father taught her isn't being a Mary Sue. I think people tend to overlook the opening scene when we see Mulan being trained by her father, and that automatically makes the 2020 movie more faithful to the original Ballad of Mulan. Now, a huge problem we have nowadays with the Disney classic films is that they're not really faithful to the original source material. Now, there's only so much you can do in making it faithful to the original source material, because with the majority of Disney films, the source material is incredibly dark, and Disney is a family-friendly company. So yeah, when you're adapting those stories, you have to take tons and tons of liberties, but not really with Mulan. There were tons of opportunities to make it so that she was already skilled at combat, however, that she needed to be trained further. And that's something the 1998 film desperately needed. And plus with Mushu and stuff, Mushu's fun, and Eddie Murphy puts on a great performance. However, he really does detract from the film. He really does, because this is supposed to be like Mulan's story, and Eddie Murphy's Mushu's like pulling out all these jokes and stuff. But back to Mulan, seeing her beat up like all the Ruan invaders in that big battle, in the 2020 film, is more realistic, because we know that she already has that kind of capabilities. Like, while it's stronger, while it may be stronger emotionally, that Mulan goes out in the battle without knowing anything, just to protect her father. I'd argue it's more realistic that she's able to do all these things. Knowing some semblance of combat. Now, the 2020 film goes out of its way to make Mulan more faithful to the original Ballad, not just in the fact that she already knows combat, but in many other instances too, like such as the way Mulan goes to the Emperor and is offered a place by his side, So the side stuff is captain, as a captain of the guard and stuff. Sorry, I'm stuttering a lot. Is captain of the guard and all that. Mulan refuses. She returns home to her village and stuff. There's a lot of similarities here, and that's that's what you want to do. This Mulan is a lot better because she's faithful to the original source material. When you take away all the nostalgia for the classic animated films, you realize that they are very watered down versions of the original source material that arguably took more risks than the classic films did. We still love the classic films, and anyone's gonna love the classic films. But when you strip away all the nostalgia and enjoyment factor, you're left with a story that's a watered down version of the originals. People argue this is the case for the remakes, but that's not necessarily true. At least with Mulan, they did something original. They made it more faithful to the original ballad. And the fact that Mulan has this arc about being true to herself and stuff, like she doesn't just like maintain her disguise and stuff until only she's found out. And the previous video covered that pretty good. You should watch that. You should watch that video if you want additional context for the section I'm about to cover. But Mulan, but Mulan has this like arc about wanting to be true to herself, but not wanting to reveal her disguise. And then she chooses to reveal herself to save her friends. Now Mulan still saved her friends in the animated film, but it arguably wasn't as strong because the 2020 film makes it so Mulan rides into battle, beats up all those warriors and stuff just to save her friends. What does the 1998 film do? I mean, it still has that sort of thing, but look at how the battle starts in the original. If you remember how the battle starts in the original, Cricket, the blue cricket, sets off a firework. That's just dumb. I mean, I know you need a reason for the invaders to discovery, but I think it makes more sense that Rurons are encroaching on the territory, and then Commander Tung receives word, and then he and the troops ride into battle. And it's more empowering that Mulan rides into battle to save her friends. Mulan didn't really get to fight much of the warriors in the 1998 film. She just caused the avalanche and stuff. I mean, she got to fight a few warriors, but not as much as the 2020 version does. As Mulan is also more involved in this story, in the 2020 story, because like, well, she's more involved with the plot. Like, we have these character moments. When you strip away all the comedy from Eddie Murphy's Mushu and stuff, you actually have some genuine character moments here. Like when Hong Hui tells Mulan, "Don't turn your back on them. Now you can turn your back on us, but don't turn your back on them. They need you." So, yeah, I think I totally butchered the quote, but if you saw the film, you know what I mean. It's arguably a better telling of the story, and I think the 1998 film could have done it, but because these films were like more geared towards younger audiences and stuff, they couldn't really go full on with the war and stuff. But this film did. This film made it so Mulan had consequences to her actions and stuff. Consequences for revealing. It made the reveal gut-punching. Like, she saved her friends, yet the army still had to follow the rules and exile her from the army. And there's no plot convenience like in the original where, like, it's, where Mulan's death, or like Mulan will be killed if her disguise is revealed, and then Shang doesn't, because Mulan saved his life. That's a great reason, but it kind of creates a plot hole. Because, like, no matter if you saved her life or not, you gotta follow protocol, man. And that's gonna not look favorably upon you in front of the Emperor. But the 2020 film avoids this by saying that the punishment for bringing women into camp in any way is expulsion, not death. So, So yeah, this is a more coherent telling of the story. We still love the original Mulan, but this is a better telling of the story. And Mulan is more involved. She knows combat, and like, she's better in this version. I know this was more of like a rambling video, and I might make another video centered on this. But yeah, this is another support Mulan video. If this video encourages you to give the 2020 remake of Mulan a second chance, then I'm happy. If it doesn't, and you're really mad at this video, I'm sorry, but the truth's got to come out. And we're making these videos not to be just and I like making these videos not to be contrarian, but to express why I love this version of Mulan. Now, arguably the most faithful to the original ballad is the 2009 Mulan: Rise of a Warrior. But for a Disney telling of the film, this is as faithful as you can get. Yeah, the 2009 film is in a class of its own because it was aiming to be faithful to the original. This was aiming to be faithful to the original too, but there's only so much you can do within the constraints of the Disney system. Disney wants to gear their movies towards kids and stuff, so there's arguably some things you gotta sacrifice. But for what it's worth, this is a more faithful telling of the original ballad. And I think for Chinese audiences, if you guys see this video, I think you should give this film a second chance. Because yeah, it's got some Western stereotypes like the witch and Mulan's makeup and stuff, but when you strip out all those things, you're left with a story that's more faithful to the original ballad. And ultimately, I think that's the 2020 movie's greatest strength. In that these films try to be more faithful to their source material. And so here's hoping that the inevitable sequel to Mulan 2020 is as enjoyable as the 2020 film is. Because if this film is a sign of things to come, then I can't wait to see Mulan lead her own guard. We know that sequel's eventually happening, because it was confirmed a long time ago. So, who knows? When it comes out, we'll be there. Hopefully more reflection music, because that was epic. With that being said, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. And my voice is scratchy now. I think I'm done making videos now, and yeah.